Welcome back to another episode of Graps and Yaps. This is your go-to podcast for everything pro wrestling, where we are going to recap what's happened inside and outside of the ring from the last week. And whether you're a lifelong fan like us or you're just a victim of the wrestling algorithm, we thank you for being here and we hope you enjoy. Maybe you called me, maybe just giggling about the outside of the ring stuff, because I mean, that seems to be the theme of the week. But before we get into that, let me introduce myself. I'm Phil Fresh. Here with me, also sporting some Kayama Power gear, Tony Free. What's happening, TF?
Yeah, Kaima Power, proud. I guess we've got some Graps and Yaps sponsorship on the Kaima Power merch this year. So it's good to see at training the last couple of weeks. Starting to see the Graps and Yaps on the back as the boys and girls have been flying around on the field. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, we just had a nice. We're just saying, Easter long weekend, a bit all over the place at the moment. Didn't know what day it was this morning, but I guess the most important thing, we talked about Mania. We've been talking about it for the last probably 2 months now, but I think there was a line that they said on commentary this week on WWE TV, and it said there is still a little bit of road left before we get to Las Vegas, and that's really true because over a week it's close, but it's still that little bit away. But yeah, can't wait for next weekend, and yeah, just counting down the days at the moment.
Look, it has crept up. Before we get into the recap, though, the Graps and Yaps sponsorship, it's just come to me now that you know, either we're giving Kayama Power the Graps and Yaps rub, or if we do poorly, is that on us? You know what I mean? I'm a little bit worried about that. Just quickly, Tony, could you just give me your vibe check on Kayama Power and how they'll perform this year?
So we've got 4 teams in seniors. So there's like a men's and women's, both with first grade and reserve grade. Looking really good. The men's have been on fire in their preseason matches. They won their last preseason match by something like 100 points against a team that won a competition down in Canberra. So they're looking really good for their game this week. The last time they played the team that they're playing this, so they're playing the Wollongong Bulldogs this weekend. Last time they played them, beat them by 100 points. So it's looking good for this weekend. The girls, they just smashed the Wollongong Bulldogs a couple of weeks ago by something like 60 points, and they play them again this weekend. So it looks like it's looking like a good weekend so far. So the Graps and Yaps rub should be off to a good start.
Okay, well, you let me know when presentations are at the end of the season. I'll be there, brother. But let's not get ahead of ourselves. Let's get into the recap of the last week. And man, like I said, man, this is probably the first time in Graps and Yaps history where the big focus, it has nothing to do with what happened, in ring action, wrestling action, but more so all of the noise outside of it. Okay, let's start with the biggest story of the week. I'm keen to hear your thoughts and reactions on this, Tony Free, but the Pat McAfee of it all. Let's give us a little recap of what, if people may have missed what had happened, and then we can get really stuck into our thoughts on this one. So take it away, Tony Free.
I mean, like for weeks now, Randy Orton's been teasing this person that he's been talking to on the phone. Someone, they at one stage they even said, there is more than one royal family in wrestling. So there was so much speculation out there as to who it could be. We spoke last week with Nick Stav saying, maybe it's The Rock, maybe it's Ted DiBiase Jr., maybe it's Kevin Owens. And I think the last person that anybody would ever recommend or nominate for anything like this was Pat McAfee. And he showed up in the ring while Cody and Randy were, getting into a bit of a brawl there. Pat McAfee just, arrives in an RKO everybody shirt to everybody's surprise. He probably delivers one of the best low blows you'll ever see on Cody Rhodes. He absolutely punted the hell out of those crown jewels. And then we got this. I still can't make sense of the promo that Pat McAfee cut. I just don't understand in any world why Randy Orton would need Pat McAfee in his corner against Cody Rhodes, a story that has over 20 years of history, of which Pat McAfee has absolutely 0 minutes to do with that. I don't know what the hell
Um,
this is.
Dude, you know, I was really trying to make a lot of sense of it. I remember watching it in real time, and I was still looking for like, oh, you know, maybe this works. Now that the dust has settled since that, you know, that first promo with Pat McAfee, yeah, it really doesn't make sense. Like you pointed out, it's a match with 20 years of history. It did not need Pat McAfee of all people to come out. And the biggest thing, in my opinion, about this, the biggest problem that I had with this promo was that it didn't even feel like Pat really believed what he was saying. Like, he's talking about how this is the problem with the industry. We got, you know, dudes who are 5'5" putting on 45-minute matches while Randy Orton's still around. I'm like, Pat McAfee, your first match was against Adam Cole, and it didn't go for 45 minutes, but it didn't go quick. Like, it just didn't make any sense. Like, that was my biggest issue with it. And then it felt like that whole segment dragged on as well. Do you have any other lingering thoughts before we move on to Cody's promo?
Yeah, like Pat McAfee, like the promo went for ages, and as you said, the things didn't make sense. Like the core wrestling fans want to see 45 to 60 minute Iron Man matches. Like this is
Hey,
what we
don't
want. We
count
don't
me
want
in
to
on that.
see these little like 5 to 7 minute like nothing matches that don't mean anything. Like we want to actually be entertained with actual wrestling. We're sick of the shows where it's just full of promos and 3 matches for a 2.5, 3 hour show. So like there's obviously a huge disconnect here. And unfortunately, like Pat McAfee probably is like an actual wrestling fan at the end of the day, and I think he's said that a lot. He does really seem to enjoy what he does, over the last few years when he's been involved in the WWE. And this one, it obviously feels very forced, and you will get into Cody's promo, but this is obviously a TKO interference here into again a major WrestleMania story.
I'm gonna just before we move on to that, I'll be honest with you. I don't think I'm trying to see an Iron Man match anytime soon. Maybe maybe once in a blue moon, I'm okay with that. But yeah, count me out of that. But let's talk about Cody's promo because the rumor is later on in the show, Cody comes out. He takes out Kit Wilson after his match, and then cuts this promo. And the rumor is that this wasn't scheduled as part of the show. It felt like a pivot given the reaction, I guess, in the crowd and also online about Pat McAfee's segment. Basically, Cody comes out and he's talking about how Pat McAfee, it's like as if, the NWO's the third guy was Disco Inferno, talking about his agent who is, TKO chairman or member of the board or something or other, Ari Emanuel. Talking about, and I know who I'm talking to, you can kiss my ass. The yarn that came out after was that it was not part of the plan. And look, I didn't really think about it much of the time, but this has made me realize that like this is the third year straight in the lead up to WrestleMania where something has just out of nowhere been changed for no reason. All right. You can date this back to WrestleMania 40 when The Rock comes out, when Cody gives up his WrestleMania main event to give it to The Rock for whatever reason. WrestleMania 41, the heel turn with the final boss and Travis Scott, who were nowhere to be seen. Well, The Rock wasn't there to be seen, but Travis Scott was. And then now we've got the Pat McAfee TKO of it all. Tony Freed, go. What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, I think there's a lot of discussion out there, and I think a lot of the frustration that we're seeing both from the wrestling fans and internally at the WWE, and it's starting to bleed out onto TV now with some of these, we'll call them shoot promos. There is a lot of outrage at TKO for interfering. And I think look at those 3 years of WrestleMania and what they, the huge swerves and the changes that they've made. Sorry, the changes that they've made to those, big main event storylines. This is TKO trying to boost ticket sales. And in this instance, they've severely missed the mark. I don't know how Pat McAfee is a draw for any WWE fan in 2026 or any other year for that matter. I don't know what they think is the draw here. Yes, Pat McAfee has his own show on national television on ESPN. Yes, he's known to a mainstream audience. He was an all-star NFL kicker, punter, whatever he was. I get that. But in this world, Pat McAfee has no aura like that. There is no draw, there's no pull, there is no way that Pat McAfee puts extra bums in seats for this year's WrestleMania, which is obviously struggling to sell tickets. There's plenty available with just over a week to go. And for the third year in a row, they've done this, and it's affected Cody 3 years in a row. I could just imagine
It really
how
has.
how angry he is, and this was touched on in Unreal, in the first season of Unreal, where Cody Rhodes spoke a little bit about how he was kind of getting shafted and had to really force his way back in and allow the WWE universe to take back control and get back to what they wanted and the product that they were, I guess being um, set up for in terms of what the main event of WrestleMania was supposed to be. And TKO getting, interfering and trying to run their own agenda in order to, for what they think is best. It's obviously not best because we reacted the way we did. We saw the reaction from everywhere else. And as I said, these shoot promos now that we're seeing, it's obvious that the WWE is frustrated internally and they're airing it out the best way that they can.
The key line in that Cody promo that I really enjoyed was when he's talking about it's like, yeah, I faced The Rock, I faced Roman Reigns, I faced John Cena, but make no mistake about it, they also faced me. Like, and now, yeah, you're right. I didn't even realize this is really all centered around Cody. It feels like there's like a lack of belief or faith in Cody, which I think is really crazy. The best pivot here, in my opinion, is that Cody Rhodes just leans all the way into it. Like, talking about like, no, I'm him. Like, he needs to claim it. And maybe, I don't want to, I feel like we do this every week, like it's happened to his heel side, you know what I mean? I'd be around it. You mentioned the ticket prices of, the ticket sales of WrestleMania. Let's talk about Monday Night Raw. CM Punk, initially he comes out, kind of really great promo against Roman Reigns, but then hits a little drive-by on Pat McAfee. Now, a few days after the SmackDown stuff, how did you take this CM Punk line and his little jab at Pat McAfee and TKO?
This was one of the best CM Punk promos that he has ever done. And I think, a lot of people are saying this is another pipe bomb, and I really do think in that sense it is. From all reports, he did go off script. There was a plan for what he was supposed to say, and he really did shoot from the hip. And I think justified. And I don't think that there wouldn't be too much backlash, maybe from the creative team at WWE who, would be also on the back end of, the changes that TKO have come in and made. So it was really, really good. The fact that CM Punk stared down the barrel of the camera and said, Pat McAfee, the agent that shoehorned you into this, which is Ari Emanuel, the president of TKO, and told him to lower ticket prices and had a whole arena there applauding that statement, I thought was incredible. It brought me back to the CM Punk of 2013, maybe, when he was asking for ice cream bars, things like that. This was the voice of the voiceless finally returning and demanding what the fans want.
Yeah, I mean, TKO and Ari Emanuel and Pat McAfee, they kind of set themselves up for that one. I mean, why Pat McAfee talking about ticket sales because the card's not exciting, and completely ignoring the fact that one, they are really expensive, and two, it's in the same place it was last year. Completely just glossing over that fact and claiming it has to do with the in ring. And I understand, like it's part of storyline and TV, but that's what I'm saying. I said it at the start. It just didn't make sense, and it didn't even feel like Pat really believes what he was saying either. I read this article online. I think it's from the Hollywood Report, and it's Ari Emanuel as Pat McAfee's manager. There was a quote where he's talking about him and saying like, "I'm trying to make him turn him into the next Sylvester Stallone." So he's got some like TV spots or some movie spots that are like set to come out soon. He was in Australia filming something as well, so I think that's part of him. Now he's here, part of the night one main event of WrestleMania for God knows what reason. It's just too blatant. Now it makes me think as well what that dynamic is between, I guess, TKO and creative, and especially Triple H. Does it make more like, does it kind of clear up the dynamic like backstage, do you think?
I don't know. It's hard to say. And I saw, there was some text messages from a few years ago that were made public during this Vince McMahon case. So like these text messages, these screenshots became
Mm.
available in Discovery, and a lot of that was between Triple H and Nick Khan, and it had to do with Vince McMahon trying to come back in towards the end of 2023 and start of 2024. And if you read the messages, a lot of like the context here is that Ari Emanuel was kind of allowing Vince to do this, and was making things a little bit easier for Vince to be around more. And Triple H and Nick Khan, you can see in the text messages there's some concern there, saying like this doesn't seem like the right thing to do. There was one text message from late 2023, just after CM Punk had returned back to the WWE, where Triple H says Vince McMahon is now supposed to be on this flight that CM Punk is on. Is this an issue? Like, this is what Ari Emanuel was allowing after like all of this stuff about Vince McMahon had come out after he had been forced out of the company. Ari Emanuel was allowing Vince McMahon to, I guess creep back in through the back door. And it's visible from these text messages that Triple H and Nick Khan, the president of WWE, were not very happy about it and did not feel, comfortable with it at all. And the fact now that, Ari Emanuel for the third WrestleMania in a row thinks that he's doing the right thing for the business, for, lining up their pockets and, expanding that profit margin. This is probably I'd say maybe the first year was okay. Last year, not so much. And this year, definitely not. So, three times now, and it's just getting worse and worse. And from all reports, there was no fallout for CM Punk for that promo that he cut, mentioning the ticket sales. And I think there's also a lot of discussion. There's reports coming out that WWE has been, discussing ticket prices a lot lately. It has been a hot topic for a lot of the wrestlers
Of course.
on the roster. And there was talk that they were going to look at lowering ticket prices through the next few months through their summer. But I think CM Punk now bringing this to light in the fashion that he did on national television, staring down the camera and, pretty much addressing Ari Emanuel personally. I think that will allow the momentum now to really, the spotlight is now on those ticket prices. The fans now aren't in the dark about this. They're actively involved in this discussion because CM Punk did this in a live arena. I think now this is the best way for TKO to take notice that, the things they're doing aren't working. And there's a lot of people who this affects, from their own talent to the end customer. And they're both feeling the exact same things right now.
I think the worst thing, especially in wrestling, that anyone in a position like that can do is to treat the fans like they are stupid. Like that promo on that this whole development and the Pat McAfee stuff. This man is acting like we don't watch this every damn week. You know what I mean? Like, and there's no hardcore fans in this. And I think CM Punk, bringing it to attention on live TV. I mean, that's the best. That's what you got to do with him, man. Because he, at least, there is a glimmer of like, acknowledgement that we love wrestling. We think it's great, but also that we're not stupid. Like, this has also given me an idea. You know how we have our Graps and Yaps long-term predictions, okay? I'm already thinking past this year's WrestleMania. I'm looking to next year's WrestleMania that is meant to happen in Saudi Arabia. What is the craziest thing? And, given all, the Travis Scott of it last year, the Rock of it the year before, the Pat McAfee of it all right now, what happens next year? Give me a name. Give me a little off the top of your head. Don't think about it too much. But what is the bullshit that's going to happen leading up to WrestleMania 43? 23?
I don't know if it's bullshit, but I do think we get The Rock and Roman Reigns in the main event in Saudi Arabia. I don't know if it's bullshit because it's always been there.
You know what? That was going to be my answer as well. Somehow, some way, we're going to get that match. And look, we can put that down as both of our answers now. We'll put it to the tier, sorry, not to the tier list, the prediction list. But, I guess kind of, in the similar lane to what we're talking about, there is a lot of celebrity involvement with this year's WrestleMania. It feels like they're going all the way in on the celebrities. In my opinion, some of these celebrities work, some of these don't. I mean, just off the top, we saw on Raw, iShow Speed has been announced for a match at this year's WrestleMania's Tag Team Division up against the Usos and LA Knight. On SmackDown last week, we had Lil Yachty coming out with Trick Williams. Obviously, we've had Jelly Roll on TV in the last few weeks. There's the yarn about Tom Brady and what he's been doing outside of it. Like, what? How much is too much, Tony? Because to me, this seems like too much.
It just seems like they're just giving out these spots now. Like whoever's got some sort of following or some sort of pop culture relevance is now getting some big spot. I understand putting iShow Speed in a match, but the fact that you're putting LA Knight and the Usos into what's going to ultimately be a novelty match is kind of it leaves a sour taste in my mouth. I don't know if that's how you treat Jay Uso, who was probably your biggest babyface for at least 12 months there over the last 2 years. Former world champion, Royal Rumble winner, putting him in this match, and LA Knight, the guy who's continually been the person left out, despite the fact that the fans have wanted that push to come for him. It sucks, quite honestly.
You know what? Something I noticed, and maybe I don't want to come off like I'm reading too much into this, but on that segment on Raw, where the Usos and LA Knight in the ring and they're calling out the vision for a match at WrestleMania, dude, it looked like Jay was like in his own corner, and it looked like he was kind of like, what the hell are we doing? Like it looked like he was kind of disappointed as well, because this time last year he was fighting for a world championship. So I don't know, but maybe we'll do it like this. We'll kind of rank, maybe not rank, but like just sus vibes and what you're excited for. So iShow Speed, I think that makes sense. Obviously, he's a big name. He's athletic. He did that thing on his YouTube series with Randy Orton where he was training in the ring a few weeks ago. For me, iShow Speed, he gets a thumbs up from Phil Fresh in this. Are you giving him a thumbs up, or are you not unsure?
I mean, I give a thumbs up for iShow Speed having a match. It's just the opponents weren't the right pick for me. Yeah.
It's not the right fit, you're saying.
Yeah.
Could have been paired better. Okay.
I'm all for it being there, but just not the right fit.
Yeah. Well, let's move on to what happened on SmackDown. Trick Williams comes out with Lil Yachty. I think they had kind of interacted on social media, and Trick was like, "Come out, SmackDown. Lil Yachty comes out and he's basically just a manager, or like in that manager position. You know, they cut a promo. He's gassing up Trick. He's talking to Sammy and all them, dude. And we know Lil Yachty. He's been in the front row of a bunch of wrestling shows. He is a ball knower, elite ball knowledge from Lil Yachty. And honestly, I would not be mad if Lil Yachty stays around to be Trick Williams' manager, almost like Jimmy Hart with Hulk Hogan. You know what I mean? Like, I am not mad at it. I really enjoyed it. So for me, Lil Yachty, thumbs up. Your thoughts, Tony Free?
Nah, thumbs down for me. Like,
What?
Little Yachty has his place, and he's there regularly. Like, as we said, he's in the front row of pretty much every PLE. He's there. He shows up to a lot of, Raws and SmackDowns as well. That needs to be his spot because he gets pops every time he shows up on those TVs. I think he might be overstepping the mark here. I don't know if he needs to be, a manager for Trick Williams. Trick Williams is great on the microphone. He does not need someone echoing him or someone bigging him up. Trick Williams does that by himself. I don't need Little Yachty pretty much coming in like with an ad lib in between everything that Trick Williams is saying on a microphone. Like, I was the promo on SmackDown where they're both there. I was just like, I felt like Little Yachty was just saying things just for the point of, just being there and saying something just so he could kind of, justify why he had a microphone in his hand. And like the chat about like all these little like, oh, ginger this, ginger that. It was just like so childish. I'm like, I could do this just with Trick. I don't need Little Yachty here for this. Like, Little Yachty needs to just be the guy who they show, oh, Little Yachty's here. And then you pop. That's what Little Yachty's place is. I don't need anything else out of him right now.
Damn, coming in hot. I very much disagree with that. But let's move on to Jelly Roll. Now, Jelly Roll has been, a prominent name in the lead up to WrestleMania, but I mean, as of right now, a week out from WrestleMania, he doesn't have a match. Jelly Roll is a fan. We know this. He's paid his dues. He's done his training. He does his matches. By all reports, he respects the industry, but I don't need to see this anymore. For me, Jelly Roll, I think it's a thumbs down from me.
Yeah, but you know what they're going to do? And it's going to be a thumbs down from me also. Because Pat McAfee is in the corner of Randy Orton for the night one main event of WrestleMania. And Jelly Roll has been involved in this storyline so far.
Oh my God.
He will be in the corner of Cody Rhodes. I can see it now.
Far out. Yeah, no, that honestly makes so much sense. The last time we saw Jelly Roll, he got RKO'd. Oh, yeah. No, that's what's happening.
He doesn't have a match. He doesn't have a match at WrestleMania, and he's just popped up on the road to WrestleMania, and he's been around this storyline.
Oh,
he got the chance to have a match with Kit Wilson, but that, I think, is what they're doing with him. He will be in the corner of Cody Rhodes for the night one main event of WrestleMania. Just let that sink in. Thumbs down.
Unfortunately it has. So, well, that's fun. And the last name on this list, let's talk about Tom Brady. Now, this one had this has just been,
where does this come
outside. From? This is just outside the ring news. This has come from, I think, Logan Paul and Tom Brady had an interaction, and then Tom Brady.
Oh, the celebrity flag footy match they had.
Yeah, and then Tom Brady was talking about how wrestling is cute. You know what I mean? And like that, obviously ticked off a couple of wrestlers online. I think Drew McIntyre has tweeted something out about it. And it's, mind you, this was like maybe a month or two ago, still kind of like bubbling. I'm not ruling out. I mean, if the Pat McAfee of it all is happening, I'm not ruling out Tom Brady showing up at some capacity. So, just be ready for that as well. If we're getting ready for the Jelly Roll of it all, be ready for the Tom Brady of it all. And with that, that's an easy thumbs down from me.
Yeah, huge thumbs down for me also. And my fear is that with John Cena being the guest host, there's some sort of John Cena and Tom Brady goat interaction, which I am not here for.
Yeah, you probably called it there, Tony Free. The Oracle back at it again on the Graps and Yaps podcast. Let's talk about the match card. So the first time ever since doing, a 2-night affair, They have announced in advance what the match cards are for both Saturday and Sunday. So I'll read out. We'll start with Saturday. I'll read out the card. We'll get your thoughts on it, any surprises or anything like that. So Saturday, first match of the weekend, and this will be in the first hour free on ESPN. Starting off with Jacob Fatu and Drew McIntyre with the unsanctioned match, followed by the Vision and Speed against the Usos and LA Knight. Those are the two free matches. Then we get into Gunther, Seth Rollins, the Women's Tag Team Championship four-way, the Women's World Championship match with Stephanie McKay and Liv Morgan, the Women's Intercontinental Championship, AJ Lee and Becky Lynch, and the main event of night one, Cody Rhodes versus Randy Orton with Pat McAfee in his corner. Your thoughts on Saturday?
It looks really good. I think the only gripe I have there is they maybe could have moved one of these women's matches over to the Sunday. I think there's three matches at this
It's heavy,
stage.
huh?
So, yeah, so with the women's tag team championship fatal four-way match, the women's world championship match, and the women's intercontinental championship match, I thought maybe they could move one of those over to Sunday. I think on the Sunday at the moment there's only one women's match, so maybe we could have had a nice little split there of 2 and 2. But it does look like a really good Saturday. Like I think the low spot for me at the moment, like just looking at the card top to bottom for Saturday, is that I Show Speed, Logan Paul, Austin Theory versus the Usos and LA Knight. I think that's going to be my low point of the Saturday, but I'm sure it'll still be fun. But I think that's what 7 matches in total, so not as many as there are for Sunday at this stage.
What do you reckon was going to be your, I'm just on the card alone, the match of the night on Saturday?
Oh, 100% the Women's World Championship match between Stephanie McKay and Liv Morgan. And, we said last week the way they've been, heating this up has been really, really good. Again, they did it really well on Raw this week. The backstage attack by Stephanie McKay and also the video package, the promo from Stephanie.
Oh, my God.
Her English has really improved a lot. Like, that's what really stood out for me in this. And I think, she's obviously been putting in that work, and it's really starting to, I guess, help her get over even more, which is crazy. But the backstage attack was wild. Like Liv Morgan's got this giant egg on her head. She posted this on social media afterwards.
God.
And from all reports, Roxanne Perez and Liv Morgan both in concussion protocol. This was a legit injury for both.
Dude, let's just talk about that. Seeing it and hearing the thud, the clash of heads, legit made me grimace. It made me cringe. I was like, oh my God. And we didn't see anything for hours after the show had finished until they posted it on social media. And just, it was like someone had just injected a golf ball into Liv Morgan's forehead. It was brutal, man. And I was talking about it with Lockie. I was like, what's the NRL protocol for concussions? It's like a 10-day stand down period. And then here we go. You know what I mean? It was bad, man. I hope, and she probably won't be on Raw next week. I just hope there's enough time there. I hope she's all right, man. Because, yeah, seriously, this match, this might be the match of the night. I feel like the build has been really good. The intensity is what it needs to be for a match like that, especially at WrestleMania. And it really feels like someone forgot to tell them that they're not really meant to hurt each other. There is so much passion and so much fire there. And they're two excellent workers as well. So I agree with you. I think the Stephanie McKay Liv Morgan match will be match of the night. If it's not that, maybe Gunther, Seth Rollins on paper, two of the best in-ring workers maybe in the entire industry, full stop, going head to head at WrestleMania. Now, while the storyline is still a little bit, half cooked, I think the match itself will be great. I gotta disagree with you. I feel like the Speed Vision match, that'll be fun. I think, the matches like that, there is a spot for novelty matches at WrestleMania, and that I think will be excellent. I mean, we can't go past the Sami Zayn Johnny Knoxville match at WrestleMania 38 a few years ago. That literally, that kind of stole WrestleMania that year. But
I didn't enjoy
that.
Yeah,
look, shock horror, Tony. For shock horror, you didn't enjoy that. That was great. You weren't sports entertained?
it was okay.
Oh, for goodness
It
sakes. All
happened.
right. Well, look.
It happened.
Oh no, we're not doing that. Settle down, mate. So that's Saturday. Let's talk about the Sunday card. This is what we've got. So in the first hour free, we've got Obafemi against Brock Lesnar, followed by the Intercontinental Championship ladder match. Right, there's the first two free matches. Then we get into Trick Williams versus Sami Zayn, Finn Balor versus Tom Mysterio, Jade Cargill, Rhea Ripley, and the main event, CM Punk against Roman Reigns. Look, we already spoke about Saturday and our thoughts about Saturday. I'm just going to say it right now. Sunday is the night of WrestleMania 42 this year.
Oh, 100%. But I think like there are like it's so good that the low lights is probably going to be Finn Balor and Dom and the women's championship match between Jade and Rhea. But and like that's no knock on those matches. It's just that like everything else on that Sunday is outrageous. Like Ober and Brock, the now 6-pack ladder match for the Intercontinental Championship with Rey Mysterio just deciding that, you know, now that Gunther has a match and can't retire him, that, oh, yep, I'm good to have a match now. You put me in for
Actually, I
WrestleMania.
feel better.
Oh, you know what was missing from this ladder match? Me. I've been on the shelf for the last 3 months while Gunther was trying to find an opponent, but I'm all good now if he's got Seth Rollins. But that should be really fun. The US Championship match between Trick and Sammy should be really good. I think Trick Williams really needs to win that match. Crazy thing on SmackDown that I noticed: Sami Zayn has lost all of his aura. We had an
Yeah.
arena there chanting for, you know, chanting "We want Mello." They were booing him. They hated when Mello lost that rematch on
Yeah.
SmackDown. Sami Zayn, no aura at the moment for the what did little Yachty call him, a gingerbread man?
Yeah. Honestly, fair enough. Like, I was watching that and I felt like, and you know the funniest part of that? So, like, Carmelo comes out, he says his whole bit, the crowd's loving it, and Sami Zayn is like dragging this thing out and like kind of talking about da 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 da. And while that's all happening, Lil Yachty and Trick Williams are in the background, legit being like, hurry up, man, get to the point. Like, today, Junior, like, it was, yeah, it was a big loss of aura for Sami Zayn this weekend. But, you know, it's kind of put him in a great position now because the only reasonable solution here is to just turn him heel and just have him be this guy. You know, we're so fed up with Sami Zayn. You know, especially the backstage segments between, you know, him and Cody or him and Randy, him and Jacob, where he just came off like a pest, absolute pest. And then here he is as a United States champion, still being a pest. Like, oh, look, you know, next week will be our big WrestleMania review, or preview, sorry. So we won't go, I won't try and get too deep into it, but yeah, man, that should be a fun match. The Demon coming back at you know, for WrestleMania. I loved there was that video package about him, you know, kind of alluding to that, and then Dom Mysterio, the club, was being like, "What's that all about?" I'm like, man, you know what that's about. Like, we all know what that's about. But also, just quickly, I want to talk about this. This is my main issue. I really thought in my mind the last week, especially, that Obafemi and Brock Lesnar would main event one of the nights, and that Cody Rhodes and Randy Orton would be in the free hour, especially with the Pat McAfee of it all. I know it sounds crazy, but especially as soon as Pat McAfee revealed himself as like the guy, I was like, this is just a ploy to get people to watch for free. You know what I mean? Like, to start one of the nights. Obafemi, Brock Lesnar, this build has been, dude, I would say it might be bigger than the CM Punk Roman Reigns, but that's, in my opinion, it's just, they've done it so well and they haven't really said too much. And maybe that's what wrestling is all about. You just need two meaty men slapping meat. I'm really excited about this Obafemi Brock Lesnar match, Tony.
Yeah, so am I. And I think, but I think it makes a lot of sense having that in the, you know, the free hour on ESPN,
Yes.
especially with Brock Lesnar, a guy that, you know, is known in the UFC fighting world. You know, obviously a heavyweight champion back in, you know, a few years ago, a former NCAA heavyweight champion as well during his college days. So he is I guess, a household name, Brock Lesnar. But I I understand why he's not in the main event, and there's still a lot of things coming out in regards to that case that we, you know, that I briefly spoke on a little bit earlier about. And there's still things coming out about Brock Lesnar now, some details coming out at the moment, which seem to be really perfectly timed in terms of, those things being exposed. And I think there's still a little bit more to play out with that. And then probably not going to be nice things that we're going to hear about Brock Lesnar. So I don't think he would be a worthy main event superstar with those things around him at the moment.
Look, man, that's fair enough. That's a fair point you bring up, actually. So yeah, I think Sunday's looking like the night to watch. I mean, if you go to for fans who are going to be in Vegas, if you could only have enough money to spend it on one night, hear it from Graps and Yaps. Sunday is the night you want to watch. Is there anything else from this week of wrestling, Tony Free, that you want to talk about?
Look, there's one thing, and he is our guy, and it's been a very interesting watch for the last few weeks because there's been different moving pieces here, and this all revolves around Solo Sikoa and Tama Tonga. Tama Tonga gave the lantern back to the Wyatt family, and there was a look here, once they, had their discussion about what had just happened, where Tama Tonga kind of looks towards Tala Tonga, and Solo Sikoa is kind of giving a side eye to Tama Tonga. There's something brewing here, which I'm really excited about.
There's also because he's also kind of interacting, Tama Tonga is, with Shinsuke Nakamura. I really wonder what the play is, post WrestleMania or post this storyline, because they've been teasing it for a bit now, and we're seeing a lot more Tama Tonga, in ring action, which obviously I'm a mark for Tama Tonga, but I just think, overall he's a great wrestler. He's proven himself over the years in Japan and all that stuff and Ring of Honor. I'm very excited to see this iteration of Tama Tonga. And also, while we're at it, another name that kind of fits that build is Matt Cardona. I feel like, the last time hold on a second. Do we see Matt Cardona at WrestleMania? Do we see him run in? Is he the reason? Hang on a second. Something that just come to my mind.
With a Cody and Randy match. If this is how, for the night one main event, if that's what they're planning on doing, is having all this bullshit happen where you have Jelly Roll come in to rescue. This is what I think will happen. They won't announce that Jelly Roll will be in the corner of Cody Rhodes, but because Pat McAfee will somehow get involved in the match, Jelly Roll will then come out, he'll do his thing, and then we're going to have all this hullabaloo. We'll probably have a few more people coming out for Randy Orton. Yeah. Maybe Ted DiBiase Jr. does come back. Maybe Kevin Owens comes in. And then, we get Matt Cardona coming into, it's going to be like the Temu version of WrestleMania 40 when, we had the greatest 5 minutes in WrestleMania history, and then just going to give us this absolutely garbage, watered down version of that.
Oh, God. Listen, all I'm trying to say is I think people forgot what Matt Cardona did on the Indies, and I would love to see it at WWE soon. But going back to what you brought up, the MFTs of it all. Yeah, look, I think the writing's on the wall. I think we've been talking about Solo Sikoa going solo, pun intended, for a while now, and this might be the catalyst to that. Keen to hear your guys' thoughts though. Let us know at Graps and Yaps on Instagram. We are back for another WrestleMania tier list review. Last week we had Nick Stav on the show sharing his thoughts. But also, because we're so close to WrestleMania, we've got to get them done. So we actually asked you guys for your help on our Instagram at Graps and Yaps to help us with the tier rankings. I put up a few on the social media, and this is what you guys had to say. All right? We started off with WrestleMania 26, put it up to the poll, and you guys said it was decent. At 41%, it's in the decent tier. Following WrestleMania 26 was WrestleMania 1, the first. It wasn't even WrestleMania 1, it was just WrestleMania. Look, the only really takeaway from that was that Mr. T was there. He tagged with Hulk Hogan against Roddy Piper and Paul Orndorff, I believe it was. I asked you guys for it. You guys said at 36%, it happened. And you know what? It was it happened. It had to happen. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here, right? Following that was WrestleMania 24. Now, this one really shocked me. WrestleMania 24, you had The Undertaker versus Edge. You had Floyd Mayweather against The Big Show. And you also had the career match, Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair. This landing in the GOAT tier at 50%. More than half of you guys said this was This was goated. And the last one that I posted about was WrestleMania 7. Honestly, I think the main event was Hulk Hogan Sergeant Slaughter. Don't really remember much for it, and neither did you guys because it's in the flop tier at 36%. Now, yeah, any standouts, any issues with all of those that we've just read out, Tony Free?
Oh, I think it was interesting that 24 had 50% votes for goated. So
Yeah.
I don't think I would have put it in goated. So I'm surprised that
Where would you have put it?
I probably would have had it in solid. There are obviously a lot of highlights on that WrestleMania. The Shawn Michaels and Ric Flair one probably being the biggest one. But yeah, I'd probably have it in solid. Goated's maybe a little bit too far for me.
Hey, man, well, the people have spoken, so it's there now. But let's get into some more. This time it's just you and I, Tony Free. All right, let's start with WrestleMania 27. I believe this was in Atlanta. This is the one that, we saw The Rock return after however many years hosting WrestleMania 27. He gets involved in the main event, which is John Cena versus The Miz, and we also get The Undertaker up against Triple H. Now, just off those details, those are the highlights, I guess, of the card. Is there a match between Oh, my God. This is also the WrestleMania where it's Michael Cole against Jerry Lawler.
Did Cole win that?
Snooki is also on this. Michael Cole won that. Yes, by DQ he won because I think Stone Cold got him involved as well. Your thoughts on WrestleMania 27 and where you think it should rank in the tier list?
Look, I'm going to keep it very short and simple here. And this WrestleMania, it happened. Nothing to write home about.
Hey.
There were some, fun little spots here, some nice little moments. Flop? But I wouldn't say it was a flop. It happened.
You know what? Okay, you're better than me. I was literally going to chuck it in flop, but I'll hear that out. We'll chuck it in. It happened. WrestleMania 27. Thank you for your service. The next WrestleMania that I drew was actually last year's WrestleMania 41, two-nighter in Vegas. Obviously, we spoke about a little bit about it before. Main event of night one, CM Punk, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. Main event of night two, Cody Rhodes and John Cena. We also had in there the triple threat, Rhea Ripley, Io Sky, Bianca Belair, Dom Mysterio winning the IC title, Jey Uso winning the World Championship. Where are you landing on this one?
It's not in the higher tiers, it's for sure. I think Nick Stav said last week, he attended this WrestleMania and he did not have that, in the high ones either. And that's, with the bias of actually being there.
What did Nick Stav? Where did he want to put it? Did you say decent or?
I think he had it in decent.
I'd have to check it back. We'd have to go back.
I'm weighing up whether it's decent or it happened. I think the Saturday really, set the bar for that Mania. But I guess that ending with Cody and John Cena just fell so flat, left a lot to be desired. I think everyone walked away with a bit of a empty feeling. Nick being one of those, as you mentioned last week. I'm going to say this WrestleMania, it was decent. And that's being kind. I'm being nice about it.
I actually think you're being really kind because I'm looking at the card. I forgot that. So Logan Paul and AJ Styles had a match. No recollection of that at all. Drew McIntyre and Damian Priest had a street fight.
That was good.
You sure you don't want to put it in? It happened. I feel like it happened WrestleMania.
That night one triple threat, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns, CM Punk. That was cinema.
Yeah, it was. And then same with the triple threat starting night two.
The women's triple threat was pretty cool as well. Jey Uso winning the world championship.
They're doing some heavy lifting for it to be indecent, but we'll chuck it in there. This is the one I want to talk about. I was excited when I pulled this one up on the random generator. WrestleMania 33 in Orlando, 2017. Now the reason why I know those details is because I was there. Me and my boy Ned. All right. It started off with AJ Styles and Shane McMahon in a great match. We had Brock Lesnar and Goldberg in like what was maybe a less than 10-minute absolute hullabaloo fair that was really fun to watch. We had the Hardys return here. The New Day hosted it as well. And the main event was Roman Reigns defeating The Undertaker, where we all thought The Undertaker had retired there. You know what? I'm going to say this right now. I can't put this in goated. But I also can't put this in decent. So for me, my vote is that this is going in solid. And there might be some bias, but this one, for me, it's going in solid. What are your thoughts, Tony Free?
I think it would land in solid if Roman Reigns did not defeat The Undertaker.
What's the problem there? Because, you know, we can speak in hindsight now. We can speak in hindsight. This guy is the guy. That's the tribal chief right there.
CM Punk said himself, Roman Reigns' first 8 WrestleMania main events, trash.
Was that, and now let's talk about this. Was that to do with Roman Reigns or was that to do with The Undertaker? Because at that point, The Undertaker was done, right?
Exactly. Why
you know what I mean? Like that.
That's your main event of your WrestleMania that you're calling solid.
Yeah, well, mate.
He was done. I mean,
what else is what else is in the solid tier? WrestleMania 14, 33, 39.
Hey, let's put 33 up against 39.
Yes, we can. No, there's a big difference.
A huge difference.
Look, Seth Rollins and Triple H, that was a great match. John Cena proposed to Nikki Bella.
How'd that go?
That's right. Well, we don't need to be doing all that, Tony Free. I mean, that really flopped, but we won't put it in the flop tier. All right, you're saying decent?
Yeah, I'm going with decent.
Mate.
Some good, some bad on that WrestleMania.
I think we do. I reckon we need to rejig the list, but that's a later conversation. Let's move on to the first 2-night WrestleMania 36. And this is the COVID one. This one happened at the Performance Center. We had the Firefly Funhouse in this one. We had AJ Styles vs. The Undertaker in the Boneyard match. We had Drew McIntyre basically squashing Brock Lesnar. And Braun Strowman defeating Goldberg to be the Universal Champion.
This was a bad time to be a WWE fan.
Look, the reason why I have kind of sighed like that is because I'm aware that there were limitations to what this could have been. But this has to go and flop. It has to.
Yeah. 100%. I mean, like,
yeah, with that,
the cinematic matches were kind of cool because it was different, and probably the only time you could do them was during COVID in lockdown.
But really fun.
This was just filler because we had nothing else on TV at the time.
Dude, I've just looked it up. This Braun Strowman Goldberg match went for 2 minutes and 13 seconds.
Why was it even there?
And then Drew McIntyre vs. Brock Lesnar, 4 minutes and 35 seconds.
Yeah, that's trash. That's just peak.
That's flop territory.
Peak Vince McMahon.
It's unfortunate, but yeah, given the situation, obviously it's unfortunate, but man, that was really bad. All right, last one before we get out of here. WrestleMania 31, live in Santa Clara, California. All right, 2015. Starting off with the Intercontinental ladder match. Daniel Bryan taking that one out. And the main event of that one, Brock Lesnar versus Roman Reigns. This is the first of Roman Reigns' main events. And the heist of the century happens here too.
Thank God.
I really have a soft spot for this WrestleMania, but what are your thoughts? What do you remember from this Mania?
So Seth does the heist of the century, but earlier in that show, is that when he cops like one of the greatest RKOs in history?
Yep. Mm-hmm.
And then we have this Triple H and Sting match, which really should have been a lot more than it was. And they ruined it with that NWO part. Like, and they look so bad.
That was awesome. That was awesome. It's just that they were all old. They were all old. That was the thing. It was overbooked. It's also the longest match on the entire card. It's 18 minutes.
I don't think it needed to be overbooked though, but It was cool that we're getting that. I loved the build up over the months leading into it.
Yes.
When Sting came in, it was just sad that it didn't really work out for Sting in WWE. He was fortunate to go on later in his career and finish probably in the right way when he was at AEW. So yeah, it did suck that Sting's WWE run didn't live up to what it could have been, and I think the Mania match is probably a good example of that. And I don't think Sting needed NWO at that time getting involved in his WrestleMania match.
We also
But yeah,
have here Rusev coming out on a tank against John Cena. Do you remember that?
I do. I have a soft spot for this WrestleMania. I do
Yeah,
remember.
I really enjoy this.
A lot of it was during the day. I remember the sun was really out for this
Yes,
one.
it was.
Especially during the Triple H match, during the Seth match with Randy. I'm gonna say this one was decent. And I think I'm being kind in that sense, but I do have a soft spot for it.
I think you've missed the mark here. That main event as well with Roman and Brock, really fun. Like they told such a great story. Like obviously Roman Reigns was getting booed out of the building, but the story they told in the ring where Brock Lesnar was just whooping his ass, but Roman Reigns was always coming back for it, coming back for it, coming back for it. This is a solid WrestleMania to me. And especially the way it ends, the heist of the century. What a pop. We've never seen someone cash in their money in the bank at WrestleMania, let alone the main event. And it made sense. It all tied back to the Shield storyline. I really want to put this in solid, Tony Free.
What was Daniel Bryan on this WrestleMania?
Yeah, he won the ladder match at the start. And then I remember him getting hurt not long after that. He didn't really hold the.
Was that a World Heavyweight Championship ladder match? What was that match?
No, it's for the Intercontinental.
Oh, the Intercontinental ladder match. Okay.
Yeah. And then there's also The Undertaker against Bray Wyatt here. Mind you, this is the year after the streak had been broken. So by that point, it was kind of like, what are we doing? Honestly, I feel really strongly about it.
Let's put it in solid.
This in solid.
Let's put it in solid.
Yes. Thank you.
There are a lot of pivotal moments out of that Mania.
Yeah, man. So I think we've got we still have heaps to go. Look, make sure you're following us on IG because we will need your help and we would love to have your thoughts on this one. Make sure you're following us at Graps and Yaps when we hopefully finish this tier list before WrestleMania next week. All right, thank you guys for listening to another episode of Graps and Yaps. Big thank you to Tony Free for tagging in as well. As always, look, we tried to keep it light when it came to WrestleMania because next week we'll be doing a very big preview, sharing our predictions, our thoughts. So make sure you're following us on Spotify and Apple Podcasts to know when that drops. Even on our YouTube as well. We started posting the episodes on the YouTube account at Graps and Yaps. So make sure you're following, subscribe, leave a comment, a like, whatever. But man, look, only a few nights away, Tony Free. How are you G'ing up before we get to another WrestleMania?
Look, thankfully, there's a few things to, I guess, help pass the time until then. As we mentioned before, the Mighty Kaimer Power play their first game this week. So just a little sneak peek of the merch that we're talking about. So this is our nice little
here we go.
tee with
okay. I really like it. A little turquoise and black, maybe. And what is that down the bottom there?
Down the bottom there, the Graps and Yaps.
Hey!
The Graps and Yaps logo on the bottom there. So got that in singlets and t-shirts. So anyone out there wants a shirt, sing out.
But, hey, actually, Tony Free, I need that. Well,
there you go. We'll get you one. We'll hook you up.
Thank you.
Other than that, like this weekend, besides footy always being on, it's Biebercella weekend. Weekend one of Biebercella. So there's a lot to dive into this weekend. So
hey, honestly, who would you rather?
Starting Saturday our time. Bieber will be on the Sunday for us. So
that's right.
It's gonna be fun.
Who would you rather show up at WrestleMania next week? Justin Bieber or Jelly Roll?
I'd love to see Justin Bieber in a WWE. I wonder
what he does. Yeah. Which wrestler would be his friend? Let's talk about that.
He'd have to end up with like a Logan Paul or someone. Because I feel like
that's easy, honestly.
He'd get booed straight away
Honestly,
by a wrestling audience.
I could see him joining the Judgment Day. I could see him in the clubhouse. I'm all right with that one.
He'll be overshadowed by our boy Dom Mysterio. There's too much
Yeah,
already
it just makes sense
in that clubhouse.
Yeah, you're right. You're right. All right. Well, excited for Coachella, excited for WrestleMania, excited to get into the preview next week. So with that, let's get out of here. Tony Free, I'll see you next week, brother.
See you next week. Just one more week to WrestleMania. Let's go.
Yay.